I welcome you to the Aboriginal dreaming track. For thousands of years, the double earring and the Swan River was part of our culture, religion and spirituality.
The more you try to criminalise protest, the more people realise just how powerful protest is. This bill cannot stop protest. Nothing can stop people protesting.
I believe, like many of my brothers and sisters believe, that the Australian government should be trialled under the international courts for crimes against humanity.
Our governments don't always get things right, and this one seems to be one of them. And as people may know, I like a chant, so I'm going to start with one before we get to the next speaker. Simply is, say it loud, say it clear, peaceful protest is welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear, peaceful protest is welcome here. Our next speaker really doesn't need any introduction. You've probably heard from him before many a time. He is probably the next Premier of Western Australia.
Sometimes governments don't like protest. Sometimes they don't like what the people are protesting about. But the fact of the matter is, we live in a society and a community in which we need protest. They put in place 2-year penalties and $24,000 fines. They criminalise the carrying of a thing. It's not just all of us here today saying it. It's not just me saying it. It's the Law Society. It's Unions WA. It's Baptist Care. It's the Uniting Church. And there's one other small organisation you may have heard of called the United Nations, which says these laws are wrong. Keep up the fight, keep up the protesting. We're with the protesters. We want to make sure our rights and freedoms are protected. Thanks very much.
Now, when I look out and I see the faces of people who have tried to stop bulldozers at James Price Point, were you right? Yes. When I look out there and I see protesters who are preparing to stop the Row 8 through the Beeliar wetlands, are you right? And when I look out there and I see protesters who have successfully, mostly for the most part, stopped logging in old-growth forest in Western Australia, were you right? So when the Barnett government comes to us in the upper house and puts a piece of paper on the table that says, we're going to take away your ability to protest without the threat of a 2-year jail time, are we going to stand up? Yeah. We're going to stand up, and you're going to stand up, and this is the biggest protest that we had at Parliament about these laws now to date. Stand up in the public interest against oppressive governments and against oppressive laws. You can count on the Australian Greens to be beside you.
Fantastic to see so many of you here today. I'm speaking on behalf of the Community Legal Centres Association and on behalf of the Alliance of Community Sector Organisations who've come together to oppose this legislation. Firstly, this legislation attacks the fundamental principles of our criminal justice system. It may well infringe the implied freedom of political communication protected in the Federal Constitution. Let's not take this to the High Court. Let's just ditch the bill now.
Yeah! Sometimes you have to break the law in order to do what is just. At the Maules Creek mine site, 25 religious leaders locked on because of the rape of the environment happening in that location and because of the destruction of Aboriginal sacred sites. Around the country, 6 cathedrals and 80 other churches have offered their buildings and their people as places of sanctuary for asylum seekers at risk of being sent to Nauru, and protecting vulnerable adults from the dehumanising and cruel policies of our federal government.
Let them say! Let them say! Let them say!
Okay guys, that's about wraps up our speakers, but before we end up saying goodbye to you all, and there's a couple of things you can do. protectpeacefulprotest.com/snap. Send an email or letter to Premier Barnett. Call your local MP and or join the Facebook community group, facebook.com groups Protect Protest WA, or ask your organisation to join over 80 others in signing on to the statement at protectpeacefulprotest.com.